Welcome all into another edition of the unofficial WCC Hoops podcast. It is Christmas week, so we are going to get into everything very quickly. I'm also recording a little bit earlier than normal, recording just following the Gonzaga Oregon game on Sunday night, as the Zags did take that one over the Ducks. Zach Farmer, Thomas Dunn with you. Thomas coming from Chase Center. And we're going to get into a number of different topics. We'll talk about what we saw this week. We'll get into the who's on the good list and who's on the naughty list as we approach the Christmas holiday. We'll get into the Zags a bit. We'll get into Portland a bit. We have an interview with Joel Foxwell to share with you as well. We'll get into UC San Diego and the report about how much money they received from the WCC. We'll get into all that. First off, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and follow along on social media. So whether you're Spotify, YouTube, wherever you are, hit that subscribe and follow on social media at unofficial WCC pod. But we're going to start with our good list and the naughty list, because there's been a lot in the last week. I mean, thinking about what our power rankings are going to be is a bit of a challenge right now. I mean, like 1 through 3 seem very set in stone, but 4 through 11, as I was going through it, it is absolute chaos. And I know part of that is Santa Clara just dropping an absolute egg. So I feel like it feels like, especially for the last few weeks, I had to give you the mic, let you get on the soapbox, because the Broncos are doing very Bronco things.
So the funny part is, in the natural transition is, yes, I would have some long soliloquy about how woe is me, season's over, it's all bad and doom and gloom, but I really don't. I just really have one catchphrase for everybody. And for those of you who've been following the Bronco program for about 5 years now and seeing how close they've gotten to the NCAA tournament and seeing why they haven't done so, it's really just one phrase sticks out to me, and that it's when you think of Santa Clara fandom, and from the alumnus point of view, and even while doing the broadcasting the last few days, it's just the same old shit. I mean, what else can you say? I mean, it's never been about the lack of good wins. It's never been about it's always been about the bad wins, and that's precisely what happened again. Loyola Chicago, another flat tire, and one that'll doom their at-large hopes.
I mean, I was going through, because I kept thinking about it, like, this team, it always feels like that they have a great month in the non-conference, and there's just the awful month in the non-conference. And I did go back just to make sure that I just wasn't thinking about this wrong. This year, 7-1 in November, great start to the season, 2-3 in the month of December. Last year, they were 3-5 to start the year, had the 5-0 December. Year before that, 2023, 7-1 November, 2-5 in December. And you think about the losses, the bad losses, the North Dakota States, the getting blasted by Nevada, Cal, San Jose State. It's like, again, you brought up the flat tire. This is just what we see from the Broncos year in, year out. And it's just wild to think that we're talking about this again with Santa Clara.
I mean, it's been every single year. You want to date back to, because you can carve out the Herb Sendek era to pre-pandemic, post-pandemic. I have no problem with that. And you think of it starts with the Jalen Williams, Josip Vrankic team, the one where I will still die on the hill that should have gone to the NCAA tournament team. And that was really more of a function of Josip and Jaden Bediako not being available for December 2021, basically. But they lose to Fresno State in the neutral site. They lose to Cal. And for those of you who don't remember, Cal and Mark Fox were pretty much the worst team in the world for consistently throughout his tenure. They lost quite a few games in December where they just couldn't get it back, and those are the two chief among them. They lost 2 years in a row to San Jose State, 2022-23 season and the 23-24 season. Within that, also another loss to Cal. So you can't have that. You mentioned North Dakota State, and then ultimately the game against Loyola Chicago the other day. So, I mean, this is what happens. This is when people show you who they are, you just believe them. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, and the evidence is very clear along that front. And the funny part is, you're mentioning November, December. it's not like conference play doesn't have many of those either. I mean, how many they've lost to Pacific at home, they lost to San Diego at home, who's on the road at Portland. So, I mean, when people show you who they are, you believe them. And until the proof in the pudding goes the other way on a consistent basis, you just have to assume as opposed to prepare for, as opposed to just being surprisingly disappointed.
Well, I know we'll talk a little bit more about Santa Clara in a bit, but I do want to start off with maybe a more positive note here, because as we get into the holidays, I do want to go over like Santa's good list, because like, whoop, as that is a misspelling on the card. But just thinking about some of the good things we have seen over the course of the week. First and foremost is what we saw from Seattle U against Washington, because we talked about how this was a great opportunity for the Red Hawks to have a final stamp before WCC play begins. They do have one more game before the conference season starts, but playing that game against Washington at Climate Pledge Arena was going to be another feather in the cap. They had already beaten Stanford. They were 9-2 going into that game. And sure enough, this was a good, really good game from Seattle. They battled back constantly in this game. We got to see some great moments from Braden Maldonado. Austin Maurer really played well in the second half of this one. They moved the ball well. They defended well. Will Heimbrot again was defending the paint like nobody's business. And I think we got to see a bit more of what the good of Seattle can be when we get to conference play. Right? About everything that has happened with everybody else in the conference, because it seems like we're on a complete roller coaster with everyone. The one of the teams that we're not on a roller coaster with is Seattle. They are playing some of the best basketball in the conference, and we got to see that in basically full force against the Huskies.
You know, to have like an acronym for it, the Red Hawks rock. Like, I really love the way they play, how poised they are, how steady they are more than anything. And the Braden Maldonado leading the charge for the Red Hawks offensively. I thought Junio was a very good connector in that game against Washington. You're just dabbling in a little bit of everything, essentially just helping stabilize the offensive approach for the Red Hawks. And I think going forward, while they do have a game against UTSA coming up, you know, you want to avoid like a flat tire along that front, so to speak, because obviously, you know, you're getting towards the holiday break. You want to make sure that you stay in your P's and Q's by the time this airs. They stayed so steady, and I'm surprised you didn't receipt me on this, Zach. I'm gonna have to take some umbrage here. In our preview episode of the Huskies and the Red Hawks, I said, is there an advantage that they've already played at Climate Pledge Arena so far in the season? Sometimes you just got to use your eyes and know some ball, and occasionally I know a thing or two about a thing or two ever so often. So, you know, I really like the way they dug down defensively. I mean, I think Washington, they're not as good as people think, but that doesn't take anything away from what Seattle did in order to impose their will, and especially down the stretch. Red Hawks played a lot of good fundamental basketball, which I think stands out above all, not only in that win, but throughout the course of the season.
One of only 3 WCC teams at this point to have 10 plus wins.
Should have been 4. It should have been 4.
It's Seattle, it's St. Mary's, it's Gonzaga. The first 2, we knew exactly who it was going to be. That third, at this point, we probably thought USF was going to be the first to that mark. Santa Clara's had multiple shots at being the next team on that front, but it's Seattle, and Seattle could very well end up, by the time we get to conference play, which begins next weekend, they could have 11 wins going into WCC play, which obviously is going to be a huge boost for them. They have snuck in after that win into the top 100 in the net, so they are continuing to climb. Seattle is looking really, really good at the moment, and of course they're going to start WCC play with the Dons up in Seattle, and then they'll also have Washington State coming in to have their first full weekend, and we will be doing a live version of the podcast on Sunday to preview everything that's going on day 1 of conference play. We will have some special guests. We'll get into a redo of our rankings as well. So we'll get into all that next weekend. And so another one I think that has to be on the good list, and we're going to end up sharing that interview with him a little bit later, is Joel Foxwell. The Portland guard, he's continued to just be one of the best young guards in the country, really. And it feels like Portland just continues to find these like really good young Aussies that can hit the ground running. Think about Austin Rapp a year ago. Look at Joel Foxwell now. 15 assists in that win the other night against Kent State, tying a program record. He told us he had never done that before. So some interesting notes in that interview. But going into conference play, seeing the confidence he's playing with now, also 21-8 against Oregon. I don't want to miss the fact that he had a really good game against the Ducks in that one. Even though the team did not do all too well, he has continued to step up and been one of the bright spots for a Portland squad that is getting better as the season has gone along.
I think confidence is contagious. If you look at the way Foxwell's kind of, while acknowledging that he still has ways to go in terms of his own personal development and acknowledging as much, he said this is a good start for him, and knowing that Shante Leggins has given him a good enough vision to say, look, this is what you can do in the Portland Pilots offense. And then Foxwell just really taking what the defense gives him. And in a more of a preview for what the interview is later, I asked him, shooters, they see the rim get big, but when you're a floor general, you talk about the 15 assists against Kent State, it's like, what does the point guard see when the offense is flowing like that? And you mentioned the relationship he has with fellow freshman Timo George, and I think that was a good spotlight to shed along that front. I think, at least for me, with Foxwell, he's not playing out of himself, so to speak. He's playing within the offense. He's not really forcing a whole lot of things, at least from my perspective. And I think when you look at a cornerstone, if Shante Leggins can retain him, I think this is going to be a very good piece for years to come for the Pilots.
Yeah, and it's a really good spot where Portland is right now. I think that we're going to see how well they do in the early part of conference play. But someone else that's on, I think, the good list right now is Josh Dent, the St. Mary's guard. 24 points, tied a career high the other night against Florida Atlantic. Another really good game for him, and it just seems like you talk about confidence, that this is another guy who's taking over the reins in that point guard spot for a team that's obviously in a very different position than Portland, but has just gotten better and better as the season has gone along. And I mean, I think this was a point guard spot was a question mark coming into the year of what this was going to look like for St. Mary's. And I think the question mark is gone at this point. Like, Josh Dent has checked off every last box you would possibly hope for. And this has been a really good sign for St. Mary's in a window where we haven't seen Mikey Lewis play as well as we've been expecting recently. You still have some younger pieces coming in, trying to find their roles and find their spots. And alongside Paulos Morauskas, it's been Josh Dent who has really stepped up.
I think similar to what I just mentioned about Joel Foxwell is Josh Dent is like, he's coming into his own because he's playing extremely poised. I think that's what stands out above all for me. And I think that's kind of been a hallmark for St. Mary's, and kind of what you've heard me say it throughout all the times we keep analyzing the Gales, and especially coming into this season. It's like, surely Randy Bennett can't get away with it again. And then he gets away with it again but that's a full credit to both him, the coaching staff, and Josh Dent for coming in, having a concerted plan. And Josh Dent, while still acknowledging that he has taken some bumps in some games, that for the most part, he's been pretty smooth. He's been pretty consistent. I think more than anything, he's been something much like Foxwell, where he has not been forcing the offense, been helping around, been deferring to Paulos and Mikey when necessary. And then, like you've seen in some of, especially I think against Davidson, sometimes you got to put the onus on yourself, and I think he's done that.
Yeah, we're on Sunday. We're going to talk a little bit more about kind of maybe this undersold, underrated, maybe list of guys to keep an eye on as we go into conference play, because we'll start to kind of look at maybe a rehash of what our all league teams are going to be going into conference play, but also some guys to keep an eye on that might be a bit under the radar. And I don't know if Foxwell and Dent are any under the radar anymore. They may not be at this stage, but I think there's going to be a lot to kind of go into that and thinking about what those two are going to bring in the course of the rest of this conference schedule. Now, one of the things we have to go into, and we'll skip Santa Clara to start on this one, is going to be the naughty list, because there have been some questionable performances over the last week. And I think this is going to be a pairing from one single school. And it starts with what we saw from Pacific against BYU, because that was that was like, I think I wrote it down in just the notes. I was like, it was BYU by a million, because this one got out of hand fast, and not terribly surprising that it got out of hand, because this is a top 10 BYU team. This is a Pacific squad that's still trying to figure it out. They went on the road to the Marriott Center. All the things that could actually kind of go wrong felt like they did go wrong. They couldn't get off the ground. Elias Ralph had a really tough game. They need to find some secondary scores to take some of the pressure off of him. But then also what we saw the Pacific AD tweet out, which then was very quickly taken down. But of course, we know the internet is forever, and this is something that, as you're seeing on the screen, is something that you just kind of can't say. So Adam Tushore, the Pacific AD, had tweeted out right after that game: tough one for Pacific men's basketball tonight. Good scheduling lessons for the future in this funny money age we're in. No point in playing this game at all. You're not even playing a basketball team, just walking bags of cash. I mean, he's not wrong to a certain extent, but at the same time, like, you got to pick the battles. I felt like that's one, like, write it out, go ahead, vent about it in your space, but you do not hit send on that. And clearly that was the message that got sent, because it got taken down shortly after.
I mean, put it in the internal Pacific Tigers Slack if that's what you have to do. Like, I have no problem with that. And I think even to an extent within the tweet, if it goes out, but an edited version of it, I may not have a problem. Like, if that tweet leads up into and stops at the saying, in this funny money age we're in with the dots, and all right, then that's it. Okay. It's tongue in cheek, he may still catch some flack for it, but you can justify it. But then at the end, when you're saying you're not even playing a basketball team, you're just walking bags of cash, what are you expecting to happen? I mean, honestly, I genuinely don't understand what Adam was thinking here. I know he knows better than this, and I know he backtracked and said, yes, it was a joke, but I mean, come on, he's better than that. And I think, especially going forward, the big theme, and I texted you right away about this, unnecessary. It just was unnecessary. What did you hope to gain from this? And ultimately they gained nothing but bad PR.
Right. And like this, again, like we all know the reality of college basketball and the way it actually is. I mean, yes, like there are teams that are, well, walking bags of cash. Like, you're going to take your payday, you're going to head to wherever to likely get your brains beat in and hit the road. Like, that is kind of a reality for certain teams, as you continue to try to, like, just at least fund your program. Like, that's just where we are in college basketball. Again, I think of like all of John Rothstein's tweets about everybody losing their buy games, and because there unfortunately have been enough of them in the WCC realm this year of teams losing their buy games. But this is something it's okay to think this. There's nothing. I don't think anybody doesn't believe that this can be a detriment at a certain point, but you cannot hit send on this. I think that's the one thing of, like, the way it was written, the way it was sent, when it was sent, in the context of it, because it just sounds like sour grapes. It just sounds like just anger and bitterness after a bad loss. No doubt about that, the way Pacific played in that game. But you just got to be better than this. And that, like, I mean, clearly, like, on the naughty list right before the holiday, like that's not a good place to be.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it like this, and we say things all the time. They're like, oh man, did we go too far in saying something like this? Like, you look at the opening segment that I had, just sitting there and internalizing what I've seen from Santa Clara, one of the most basketball stretches to ever happen in the history of the game over the last few weeks for the Broncos. And I mean, that's one thing for us to be saying, but you're the athletic department, you're the figurehead of the Pacific Tigers. And I think going forward, you look at these things, you didn't materially gain anything out of it. And you can be salty, you can poke and prod, be tongue in cheek about any number of things within this specific situation. But the manner in which it was articulated, the reasoning, and you add the additional context, you gain nothing out of it. You did something wholly unnecessary. And yes, you've earned the spot on the one and only Zach Farmer, an unofficial WCC Hoops podcast naughty list.
And don't worry, you're not alone, because we're going to get back to those Santa Clara Broncos, because when you lose to Loyola Chicago, who is, after that win, was 300 in Ken Palm, that, especially after the month that this team has had, just it feels like there's a snowball effect happening with the Broncos right now, that going into the holidays, like going into it with that loss, just like just another kick to the groin.
Thanks. I hate it. Thanks. I definitely wasn't there firsthand to sit for it. And it's like, I think the biggest thing for me is each and every year, I want to believe. I think the players are great. I like quite a bit of the players. I think going year over year, there's lots of, like, I like Christian Heyman's game a lot. I like Elijah Mahi's game a lot. I like Jake Ensminger's game a lot. Like, I trust a lot of the players that I've seen over the course of the years, especially towards the top. I think they're very good players. I think they mostly do enough. I mean, come on. I mean, we're just sitting here watching the same train go off the rails each and every year. And I need the coaching staff is so late to react to a lot of these things. And well, Chicago, like, it's funny enough, your unofficial WCC hoops lore after the game the other day was, I run into Drew Valentine after the game, and he's running to, he said he was waiting for his team to have that type of performance kind of come together, and they had a more cohesive unit. They had more urgency than Santa Clara. Where was it for the Broncos? I have no idea. And then the buck starts and stops with Herb Sendek. That is coaching. How prepared are you on a consistent basis? And you think of the stretch of games starting with the Acrisure to now, Santa Clara has not looked like themselves since then, and they have not been playing up to the standard. And that ultimately falls on coaching. You're not ready for the physicality of New Mexico. That's coaching. You have a 19-point lead where you're watching that ASU team storm all the way back, and you sit there and watch it. You take those timeouts all the way back home. That's coaching. Look at the way they had a good win against North Texas in adjusting, and eventually had 21 turnovers against the Mean Green. So that wasn't a sexy win whatsoever, but buckled down defensively. And then little Chicago basically not getting a stop all day. So, I mean, sometimes you get what you deserve. And the coaches need to be better. The buck starts with them. It stops with them. It continues with them. However you want to slice it up. It's all of them right now. The players are not necessarily being put in the best positions to win.
All right. And I will say there was one more addition on this naughty list, but they saved themselves. And as I was making my notes and everything else, the Oregon State Beavers were going to be on this list, but with the win against Arizona State down in Tempe, Isaiah C. hitting that game winner, Josiah Lake with a great game in that one. They saved themselves from being added to this list. Although I'm sure there are still some Beaver fans who would absolutely still be putting this team on that list because of the entirety of the non-conference and what we've seen from them. But at least for this week, they jumped off with a good win down in Tempe, just by that much.
Not totally out of the woods given the context of the week. I mean, they did just lose by double digits at home to Sam Houston State. So Beavers and fans may not even say in the grand scheme of things. They might just say, not this week. Have we done enough? That we'll see how that balances out amidst the online Beaver Nation. But still, it's easy for it to snowball and go into the holiday break. I think of this as Oregon State's version of what Loyola Chicago just did. ASU had no business losing this game, and yet Oregon State was a connected team. Josiah Lake, very good game. Isaiah C. I thought this is one of the first instances where I felt Jorge Diaz-Graham's presence for the Beavers. And so I think when you look at it from a parallel lens, I think comparing that to what Loyola Chicago just did, see what it does, see how it simmers for them, because Oregon State faces Santa Clara in the first game out of the break to start WCC play. What version of what team do we get to see? Is Santa Clara going to sulk? Is Oregon State going to rise? Is it going to flip-flop? We'll see. But I think going forward, I do want to see how Oregon State kind of harnesses this and sits on it for a week.
All right. Well, another one of those teams that is trying to figure out where it's going to be, how it's going to rise is Portland. The Pilots are 7-5. I think it's 7-5. I forgot to actually finalize and actually check. But this is a team that has had some good wins, some interesting performances. They are better. I think the bottom line is they are better than where we thought they would be at the beginning of the year. We both picked them to be dead last. And we weren't alone, but almost everybody picked the Pilots to be dead last. And so far, this team has proven to be better than what we all thought. They are ahead of schedule. And as we talked about it in Vegas during Media Day, this is a team that always seems to get better as the season goes along. And it feels like that's what we are seeing already for Portland at this point in the season.
I think Shante, we don't necessarily give him enough credit for how resourceful he can be at times. And I know Portland, they do want to have more success in the grand scheme of things, but we've never really had to question the Pilots' offense. It's always been questions about personnel and defense. And I think going from year to year and some of the teams they've had, I think of the team that finished sixth the last year that Jalen Williams was in the conference back in the 21-22 season. I thought that was a pretty competent team. You think of the way Moses Wood, Tyler Robertson teams could bomb away from three. I think going into this year, I think we're both in agreement. They were going to be last. There were ways to say that, you know what, they just don't have the horses. And we're going to write Shante Leggins off and the Pilots off right away. And yet here we are. We're always going to go back to what Jermaine Balasegar-Webb told us about what Shante said. They're going to prove themselves right. They've done so. They've shut us up for the moment, and good for them in doing so, because they're not supposed to sit here and accept what we say as gospel. They have to go out and prove to themselves we're better than what people say we are. We know what we can do, and so far they've been doing so to a pretty nice degree. So I think we don't give enough credit to Shante Leggins' resourcefulness at times.
Yeah, and thinking about I think the one thing we could not have predicted is the two freshmen, and the fact that we could not have predicted what Joel Foxwell was going to be able to do. He's 13 points per game, 7 assists. That's sixth in the nation, by the way. He leads the WCC in assists. He's sixth in the nation. Timo George alongside him, shooting 69% from the field. So you think about what the young pieces have been able to do, what they've been able to contribute. I think that's one of the reasons why it's like we didn't have a whole lot of tape on these guys. And so thinking about what we were going to expect these guys to do, could not have anticipated what we've seen so far. And that's a credit to what Portland has done to this point, credit to Shante and the development staff with the Pilots. This is a team that's going to not be able to be pushed around maybe as much as they were a year ago. And I'm not saying they're going to finish on the top half. I'm not saying that they're going to make a run or quote unquote run or whatever else, but they're not going to be as easy of a win as I think a lot of people thought they might have been at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I share a lot of those sentiments. And I think considering the compact nature of our power rankings and the way some of the league has come together, and the fact that really so far it's been a breakaway 3 teams and nobody else, I would tend to agree with those sentiments. And I think when I look at the tier of teams so far, what does Portland look like against the ascending Pacific? What do they look like against LMU? I think those are the teams right now I kind of want to benchmark. And right now I'm not necessarily ready to say, okay, what do they look like against USF and Santa Clara, so to speak? But I definitely want to see going forward. There's the expectation now that you're playing San Diego and Pepperdine and potentially against Oregon State, Washington State. Yeah, I expect the Pilots to win, which is a crazy sentence to be saying considering where we were a few months ago. But going forward, I definitely want to see where they kind of slot out in the tiers within the conference, especially since we both believe that they're better than what we predicted them to show. But ultimately, what is it going to look like once conference play rolls around?
All right. Well, as we talk about the Pilots, get into what they're up to, let's jump into our interview with Joel Foxwell that we recorded a few days ago. And we'll hear from him about where he is developmentally, where this team is, and kind of what the outlook for the Pilots is going to be as we get into WCC play. We're happy to bring in Joel Foxwell, point guard for the Portland Pilots, his first season there on the Bluff. Joel, thanks for taking some time to talk with us about where this team has been going. But I guess just to start up, like, how's the season been going for you? Obviously, we know like the stats look really good, but just kind of what's this transition been like going from your play down in Australia with even the NBL Development League to now playing at the college level here in the States?
Yeah, so obviously it's been a little different. I got to go, and I think having that 1 year in the NBL as a development player has really helped kind of my growth to the college level. I got to play, I got to learn a lot of guys like Matthew Dellavedova, Ian Clark, Shea Ely, so really high profile guys who have been a pro for ages. Obviously, Delhi played in the NBA for a long time. Ian Clark's an NBA champion. Shea Ely's 2-time Defensive Player of the Year back home. So that kind of helped me set myself up for college, which is, I think, made the transition easier. But obviously there's still different parts of my game that I'm still struggling with over here. But I think having that year back home just really got my body a little bit bigger. Still not weighing what I want to weigh in at, but it's I think the growth from that year had really helped me transform to this year for sure.
When we kind of take a look into your upbringing, who were some of the Australian hoopers who you kind of looked up to? And I know you mentioned some of them right there in your development, but who are some of them that you kind of looked up to growing up, and what are bits and pieces of some of their games that you try to apply yourself?
So someone that's obviously close to home is obviously my older brother. He's he's 22 and he's in his fifth year in the NBL. So he's a starting point guard for the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, and he's been playing pretty well. I've just kind of looked up to him since I picked up a basketball. He's kind of been just that step ahead of me the whole time. He's been 2 years older than me, so I've just been able to pick up just different pro habits that he's had over the last few years. So obviously getting to live with him, see him every day, him coming in out of practice, really just made me want to be a pro even more, made me want to get better. And then obviously more high profile guys, is smaller guys like Patty Mills. Obviously he's been a superstar for the Boomers. So he's probably the other one that I've really looked up to in a big way. But I would say probably them two. But mainly my older brother for sure. He's been kind of my rock that's kind of helped me navigate the basketball journey so far. And obviously my parents. My dad didn't play at a high level, but he's been my coach through my whole junior. So that's also another guy who has kind of taught me everything that I know.
Can you walk us through those Foxwell one-on-ones with your brother, and kind of how that would go over the course of the years?
Yeah, so I have a younger one as well. So he's coming through the ranks. He's a development player with Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. So he was doing the same thing I did, just at the other Melbourne club. So during COVID was kind of when I think I kind of took that step above like my other peers back home. I think just being able to play against my older brother and playing 2v2. It was myself and my dad against Owen and my younger brother Austin. So there was a lot of fights, a lot of tears, a few grazes on the knee for sure. There was one point that, Owen, he made me want to kind of quit basketball because he killed me that bad one-on-one. So it's just all character building at that point. But yeah, there's definitely been a lot of heated moments, but a lot of good moments as well.
Is getting a little closer now that you said like that started in COVID, like now that you're kind of a little bit older, are those matchups getting a little bit closer, and how often are you able to get over on them?
Yeah, to be honest, the last few years we haven't really been able to play a lot of one-on-one because we're in season, and if we get injured playing one-on-one, then I don't think the coaches will be that happy. But before I left, I played against my younger brother, and it was a bit too close for comfort, to be honest. I was a little bit like, oh, he might have me here. I did just get him at the end, but it was close. So that was a little bit worrying. But it's definitely, I think that rank is still older brother, me, and then younger brother. But it's definitely getting smaller for sure. That gap's for sure closing. But I guess we're all continuing to grow and be better players as we continue on as well.
Now, and kind of thinking about like that transition, just the number of names you've kind of brought up. Now, one of the things that obviously, like, you were also teammates for a brief moment with Austin Rapp, who went to Portland last year, and just kind of as you were kind of being recruited and going through your process, did you have conversations with Austin about what Portland was like and what made Portland like the right spot for you at this stage of your career?
Yeah, so I actually had a lot of chats with Ozzy and his dad as well, Tim. So they were massive in my recruiting to come to Portland. Obviously, I was committed to another school at Sanford in Alabama, and then that kind of fell through. So it was kind of quick. I kind of had to make up my mind, like, oh, do I stay or do I decommit and try the other route? And I just felt like it was a perfect spot. Coach Legs, he's a point guard. He likes kind of undersized guards, and I just thought I'd be able to thrive much better through this system. And I know they play out a lot of on balls, a lot of drags, and that's where I think I thrive the best. But going back on the Aussie Rap, the Aussie Rap thing, I was talking to him almost every day. He was giving me the positives and negatives, which was a good thing. He was not just talking the whole time. He was telling me, what's wrong there, what's going on, and kind of that situation as well, which I also think helped a lot because I kind of came in with a lot of clarity, which was really good.
when you kind of look at what Legs was telling you from his side of the recruitment, what did he tell you about the way that you can operate the offense and the way you can eventually hit the ground running?
Yeah, so to be honest, I didn't really know it was going to work out like this. Obviously, I was kind of coming in as the second guard, backing up Riley Parker, who's unfortunately been out for a lot of the season. He only been able to play the one game, which sucks. But yeah, he kind of came in just saying you got to be yourself. We know how you play. Obviously, like I said, we run a lot of on balls, and I think it was once kind of I knew my role here. I kind of knew what to do. Legs was kind of gave me the green light to run the team and stuff. But throughout the recruiting process, it was more just getting better and just get each day just working on those pro habits, working on my body, working on how I can just become the best player I can as a freshman, and kind of working about how can I back up Riley and how can I fill in those spot minutes, which hasn't worked out like that. And I guess it's in a way kind of worked in my favor. But then again, I was ready to do whatever I had to do for the team just so we could have as much success as possible.
Yeah, and so thinking about like where this team is right now, because obviously like those of us who watch, like a lot of us predicted that Portland would be kind of toward the bottom of the league, but we've seen this team really kind of progress over these first like a couple months, and something that Jermaine Balasager-Webb mentioned that Legs was talking about at Media Day was that you guys were out to prove yourselves right, not to prove everybody else wrong. How do you think like the team's progressed kind of in that messaging and in that mold? Because it does seem like that you guys are definitely ahead of where many of us thought you would be at this stage.
For sure. Like he said at the start of the year, I think it's all about kind of what happens in the locker room. Don't really listen to the outside noise. Don't listen to the rankings. We know, stay true to ourselves. We know what we're capable of, or what we can do to be successful. And I think that's the most important thing. And I think we're still getting to that point. I think we've definitely made great strides in the last couple of weeks. Especially we had that kind of slump where we had our tournament. We went 1 of 3, and we kind of had to fix a few things. And we had the Stanford game, which wasn't great. But obviously we beat a really talented team in Kent State. So I think we just got to keep building on the wins, but also learning. And we've also been really good at learning from the losses and kind of backing it up with the wins, which has also been really good. But I think we just have a lot of hope in the locker room. The coaching staff has been great at just kind of giving us the keys to being successful. And I think that's just going to keep growing throughout the year. I still think we're figuring a lot of things out, but I think we've also got a lot of things down pat for sure.
I kind of want to take a specific dive into that Kent State game because obviously the 15 assists sticks out a lot. You tied the single game program record alongside fellow Aussie Tyler Robertson. But when there's always the phrase thrown around when people are shooting the ball well that the rim gets really wide. But when you're the floor general and you're just spreading the ball around like go tomorrow, what are you actually seeing from the point guard's point of view when the ball's just flowing like that?
Yeah, I think it's just I just felt really easy just getting to the paint and trusting my guys to make shots, and they did. Also, getting into the big fellas, playing out of the pick and roll. I think I just kind of developed. I think I was more of a scoring guard coming in, but I kind of knew as a point guard, you need to be able to facilitate. You need to be able to get other guys involved, especially if as a PG, it's the most important thing is making sure the other guys feel good. So I think that's kind of my mindset now is just making sure other guys can get rolling, and I feel like from there I can free up and then I can get my shots. But yeah, especially in that Kent State game, I just felt like everything was flowing. I could see everyone on the floor really easily, and it was just felt like the game was really open. But also it was more credit to my teammates for knocking down the shots. If they don't make shots, I don't have those 15 assists. So I think I do the easy part, and then they finish it off. They put the icing on the cake for sure.
Have you ever had I know it's a Portland program record tying the record. Have you had 15 assists in a game before? Or was that the
Never.
First time you've actually been able to get that many?
Yeah, I've never had that many. I actually looked up at the jumbotron, and I think it was 10 minutes left, and I had 11 or 12, and I was like, oh, I didn't even realize, and I was like, I don't think I've had that many. I even had 11 or 12 before, so I was kind of like, oh wow, let's see how many more I can get. But yeah, after the game, they said I had 15. I was like, oh. I mean, it's good, but then again, it's just credit to my teammates for knocking down the shots. But yeah, I've never had 15 in the game. There's no way. I didn't pass the ball that much back home in Australia. There's no way. And that's kind of the storyline back home is, yeah, us Foxwells, we don't pass the ball that much. But hopefully we can try and, I feel like I've been turning that around a little bit. So, yeah.
Hey, definitely something new.
Yeah, for sure.
There's so many new pieces on this team. And I think like, kind of talking about just like it was going to take some time to develop that chemistry, develop that kind of mix and match. And you do have a good number of veterans on this team, but one of the guys that's actually been performing really well early on is your fellow freshman, Timo George. And just kind of talk about like just the connection you two have been able to kind of grow and what that's been like, and how we've seen that kind of continue to get better throughout the season.
Yeah, so I think that started in the as soon as I got here. So I got here kind of late in the summer, visa problems. And then I got here, and I think straight away I was like, yeah, me and this kid are going to definitely work really well together. Obviously, his athleticism's through the roof, so I can throw it anywhere. Even if it's a horrible pass, he'll still go out there and get it. But I just think we've just worked a lot on just timing and just figuring each other out really quickly. And I think it's come a bit quicker than we both thought, but yeah, he's been one of my favorite players I've ever played with. He's really good. He's got really good hands, so that also makes it easier. He's got his hands are massive, so he catches every ball. Wherever I throw it. So he's been awesome, and I think he's been a bit underrated this year, and I feel like I've got a lot of the praise, I guess, awards wise, but I think he's been just as good this year as a freshman, as a true freshman. So I've just loved playing with him, and he's also a great kid as well.
When you kind of look at your ascendance and the way that teams are now looking at you on the scouting report, what are some of the biggest adjustments you kind of had to make over the course of the last few weeks and trying to understand what the game is showing you and kind of taking what the defense gives you?
I think recently it's just not forcing things. I think, and Jermaine, obviously, like we spoke about him earlier, he's been really good at just making sure that I'm always poised, I'm not rushed, and if I feel like I'm a bit rushed out there, he's always there to talk to me. So I think that's the main thing, is not trying to force things. If I haven't got a shot in a little bit, it doesn't matter. I can impact the game in other ways than just scoring. And just throwing assists. But I think it's just been, they've been hedging a lot more lately. So I think just being able to work out of that on ball, and the coaching staff has been really good at kind of fitting the pieces around me for all of us to succeed. I think that was the main thing as well, for sure.
I mean, there's a lot of international guys on this team, and obviously, like the styles of play and everything else are one thing, but maybe like off the court, what's maybe one of the strangest habits, routines, or maybe have you started to share like different foods with each other? Like, what's kind of been that you've seen from your teammates on that front?
To be honest, everything's kind of. Because I live on my floor, I got me, James O'Donnell, Carlin Briggs. So I got 3 of my Aussie boys all on the same floor, which has been awesome. So we have 2 on the coaching staff as well. So it's kind of felt like home in a way. I still got that accent. Don't need to listen to that American accent all the time. I can, go talk to those boys and use our slang. But I don't really think there's any interesting like habits or anything that the boys do. I think we all kind of, we all take a nap before the game. We all walk to the game together. So I think we just have like a little routine now, which has been really good. And I think it's helping us just get much closer really quickly as well. But I don't think there's really any. I haven't really tried any like Slovakian food or anything like that just yet. But yeah, it's
None of that
just
pickled herring from Amsterdam. None of that.
yeah, no, none of that, nothing from Amsterdam. Yeah, so there hasn't really been many things out of the ordinary that I've been like, oh man, yeah. So it's been all pretty similar, and it's been, to be honest, that's kind of how I like it. Just everything the same, nothing to be switched up too much.
Hey, there were a lot of good nominees when we were at Media Day with Jermaine, coach and company, about who was nominated for the class clown of the Portland Pilots.
That's for sure. That's for sure, James O'Donnell. There's no question about it. He's definitely the team. Yeah, the funniest guy in the team, and he's a character for sure. But he's kind of our I guess in a way our vocal leader off the court. He kind of just gets everyone together, and I think everyone's kind of become really close just with all the banter for sure. But he's definitely been the kind of team clown in a way.
Now to get you out of here on one, Portland has a lot of really good food spots. Have you kind of found one that's kind of become a go-to for you? Because there's so much to get to in Portland. But in your short time there, have you figured out a spot that you really like?
Yeah, so there's these food trucks just down the road called Chill and Phil. So they've got Mexican, they've got hibachi, they got sushi, they got all the spots. So we get a lot of DoorDash from there, and we go there and on our scooters, or we drive. One of the boys drive, and we go eat there all the time. And there's also another little spot down at St. John's that we go get breakfast burgers and smoothies. So there's definitely a few spots that we've gone to that are really good. But Portland food it's next level. It's elite stuff for sure. And I don't know why I can't put on any weight, but I've been eating a lot of it. I've been eating a lot of food. So yeah, there's Portland's food. They're kind of known for their food and their food trucks. So yeah, especially the food truck.
Hey, you keep going. At some point, it'll get there. Trust me.
Exactly.
Speaking from experience, the more you go, at some point it will click.
Yeah, for sure.
The contentious one might be: is there a favorite donut shop in Portland? Because I know like Portland can take those seriously too.
There's a spot called Heavenly Donuts and Insomnia Cookies. They're both spots that I do. If I want to have a little late night snack or something, I'll go drive up there, or I'll go order from there for sure. So those are the two spots. Heavenly Donuts, that's next level stuff though. That's some good stuff for sure. But yeah, other than that, there's obviously downtown. There's a lot of ice cream joints. So my girlfriend's actually been really good at getting me around to showing me different spots, because I guess she's sort of a local. So she's been here for a year already at Portland. So she knows all the spots as well. So she's been showing me around for sure. But Portland, it's kind of similar to Melbourne, to be honest. It's the same. Right now it's hot back home, but in the winter it's just freezing, and the city's great, and I've been loving my time here. It's been awesome.
Love to hear it. We look forward to continuing to following your basketball journey, your off the court journey. It's been a pleasure to see you hit the ground running with the Pilots, and we look forward to more to come.
Heavy. Appreciate you guys having me. Thank you.
I want to thank Joel Foxwell for hopping on one more time. Really good to hear just kind of what's going on behind the scenes with the Pilots right now. Just kind of like seeing like where we might see them throughout the course of the rest of the non-conference. They do have one more non-conference game. Depending on when you watch this, they do take on UC Santa Barbara at UC Santa Barbara at the Thunderdome at 2 p.m. on Monday. So this might be after that. So another good challenge for the Pilots, a really good opportunity to kind of test themselves against a team that has already seen a couple of WCC squads, where Aiden Mahady ended up. We've talked a bit about the Santa Barbara squad, and that this is a talented group, will be one of the favorites in the Big West going into their conference play. But, it's like, this is another development step for the Pilots. If they can somehow go in there and get this one, this is going to, I think, mean a lot as they kind of are going to use that to bounce into WCC play. They're home for their first two games once we get to league with Washington State, who's been reeling, Santa Clara, who's been reeling. So they kind of might have a great start to conference based on who they play early on. Last year, I think I remember it was like they had maybe the toughest start to conference play. They and LMU, like with both Gonzaga and St. Mary's early on. But this might actually be like one of the better windows for the pilots because of who they get and when they're getting them in conference play. So we'll see how that all shakes out as we get into that over the course of the next week. Now, one thing I do want to talk about, because this was news that came out over the week, and this was the report about UC San Diego's entrance into the WCC, and really the amount that they received coming into the WCC. Casey Smurthwaite reported out getting a hold of the contract negotiation, or the agreement between the WCC and UC San Diego, and it wasn't a total of 1 million, 5 million. We were talking about $10 million for UC San Diego to join the WCC. And yes, that is a lot for a conference that doesn't really have a ton of resources. Now you think about that. Well, what did they give Grand Canyon? What were they going to give? What did they give Seattle? What did they give Denver? There's a little bit of a different scenario here with UC San Diego because they are a public university. That is publicly available information upon request. That is not something that they can actually hide. Now, with private institutions, which most of the WCC is, that is not something they have to share in their negotiations. But I'd imagine that there's no way that Seattle, that Denver got anywhere near that number, because you have to think about it from the UC San Diego point of view. Because I think this is the one thing that's really, like, if you talk about like, oh, did they overpay? Maybe, but you're trying to convince a team that is on the rise, has done a lot in their short time as a Division I program, and is still doing really well this year, even with the loss to USD just the other day. Shout out Tyler Johnson for hitting that game winner in that one. But this is a team that is going to have a lot of suitors, or at least maybe not a lot of suitors, but is going to be a team that is attractive for a lot of different conferences who are going to be looking to add pieces here and there because of the way college athletics is working as realignment just continues to happen. And if you're trying to convince them to move from the Big West to the WCC, a WCC that did not have Gonzaga, Oregon State, Washington State, Grand Canyon, and might still lose St. Mary's. So when you then compare the conference without all those schools compared to the Big West as is, now we're starting to talk about conferences that are almost equal, because you talk about San Francisco, Santa Clara, even Seattle U, the way they are playing early on in this season. And you look across the way to the Big West, Irvine, Santa Barbara, UC San Diego, like, there's not a whole lot of difference between the level and scale of those programs. And now the WCC does have more notoriety right now because of Gonzaga, because of St. Mary's. Does that change? Not does it change? It will change. But how much will it change without Gonzaga? How much would it change without St. Mary's? And that is something that, if you're UC San Diego, the leadership of UC San Diego, that you have to take into account. You have to think about what this league is going to look like if everything goes sideways. And because right now, you insert UC San Diego into this league, like, that's the second best team in the conference behind St. Mary's. Like, it's those two as 1 and 2. So you're arguably talking about a team that is going to help you potentially with another at-large bid, a team that is going to be good in not just basketball, but in a lot of other sports. Like, again, their athletics program has done a really good job across the board. Like, you are, for a school that also has to have as larger operational costs because of the size of their school. This is not a school that has 5,000 students, 10,000 students. You're talking about a school with 30,000 students. And this is where it's like the situation for UC San Diego is much different than what it would have been for Seattle or Denver or St. Mary's or whoever else. And I get that if you're sitting in the St. Mary's boat and you hear this and probably have already known the number, that this is going to sit a certain way, but it's, are you going to get that from the Pac-12 or the Mountain West? Are you going to get that number for them? Are you going to get it from the WCC? Is this now leverage that you can use against the league to potentially stay? And this is where I think that we're just going to have to see how things shake out. I don't know how much the news breaking out to the public matters much for the schools themselves. If anything, it increases maybe a bit of leverage, but even I don't think it's going to be all that much, because I'm sure that they've already known the number. They've had negotiations. I'm talking about St. Mary's with the WCC about what this looks like. St. Mary's like potentially like having those conversations with the Pac-12, the Mountain West, just to kind of see what options there are out there for them at this stage. And but again, I think about this number, think about the way it's like, you have to look at it not just from the WCC's point of view, which kind of was a little bit on the desperate side, because you need to fill in that gap. You need to find somebody else who can fill one of those key spots to potentially be another at-large team, another really good mid-major program. But also that you had to make a move at some point. You already lost Gonzaga. You saw Grand Canyon renege on their agreement. Where were you going to go next? Denver really wasn't going to move that needle. And like, again, like we talked about Denver, it's like, yeah, it's like, it's okay that they joined the league. It's not one, I'm not sure increases the basketball and I don't think it helps on the basketball front right now. Like, I think they have a lot of work to do for Denver to really be a factor on that end. I know they help in other sports, but when I'm thinking about the money sport, like Denver doesn't move the needle much at all right now, and UC San Diego does. And I think that's when you think about everything, you think about the school size, the alumni base, donor base, all those sorts of things, eyeballs in San Diego proper itself, that there are a number of things of why UC San Diego is probably to leverage that amount more than any other WCC school possibly could. Now, reminder, we will be doing the unofficial WCC live on Sunday, December 28th, which is the first day of WCC games. We will be starting at 10 a.m. on YouTube and Twitch. So Thomas will be back to join for that one. We'll also have Rocco Miller, Andy Patton, and also let's see. Oh, I just wrote the name down and I'm going to apologize right now. Russell Brown, Seattle, voice of Seattle basketball. So we'll talk to all of them on Sunday, get into all of that. Just a few games on Monday and Tuesday before we get into WCC play. Talk about that Portland Santa Barbara game. San Diego is taking on Washington. Northern Iowa's at St. Mary's. Seattle U with one more game against UTSA to wrap it up. Morgan State is heading down to LMU on Tuesday, and then that's it. That is non-conference play. We are done. We are off into league play in just a few short days. I'm excited. I know you're going to be excited about as we get into those matchups, and we'll talk about all of it on Sunday. If you haven't already done it, be sure to subscribe to the podcast. Follow along on social media at unofficial WCC pod. For Thomas, I'm Zach. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we will catch you later.